Welcome to the show, Gearheads. This is John Massengill sitting in the studio in Austin with Les Kaiser in studio and Bob Varsha over Zoom. We just got through watching the Styrian Grand Prix in Austria, and Max Verstappen wins by a whopping 36 seconds over Lewis Hamilton.
That's like getting there tomorrow.
Well,
That's a long stretch.
It was pretty funny the way Verstappen crossed the finish line and basically stopped the car and did a burnout before Hamilton could even come around.
Oh, you would have done the same.
Yeah.
Come on now. You've been
that does
smoking
sound
it
like
up
me.
and donuts. Yeah.
That does sound like me. Well, Bob Varsha, before we came on the air, I was asking you about this, and you said, yeah, of course, he did win by 36 seconds, but it's a little deceiving, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the point the announcers made during the race that last year Red Bull lost or Lewis won by almost 14 seconds. This year he was in position to lose by 14 seconds to Max Verstappen, but they did pull him in and slap some tires on and let him go out successfully to pick up the championship point for fast lap, which I frankly didn't think he was going to get. So it's a little bit deceiving, but hey, let's not beat around the bush. I mean, this was a trip to the woodshed for everybody. Once again, reaffirming that Red Bull has really got it going on. I thought Perez was going to get Bottas for third on the podium, which would have made my pre-race prediction accurate. In fact, the television was predicting that he was going to catch him, but it just never happened for reasons of traffic or whatever. But a fun race, you know, it's almost dizzying how fast this race goes along around this very quick but very short racetrack. And my wife was watching the race with me and marveling at the beautiful alpine scenery of the Styria region, which is quite valid. It's a beautiful place, wonderful place to race. And so next week we'll do it all again on a different set of tires.
Yeah. Maybe we should go and maybe you should take your wife. There you go. Well, hey.
I would love to.
Well, hey, you know what? I tell you what. So 36 seconds. Think about what we talked about so much that was unique with this course, how short it is. 36 seconds is half a lap this week.
Yeah.
That is significant. And you think about the traffic that is then commingled into that lap in such a dense area. That is something else. And I think that's what kept the race exciting and from being a snooze fest. It may have seemed that there wasn't a lot happening, but you look at how close how close so many of the pairings were to each other as they migrated through that course. I enjoyed that a lot. A lot of in the turn passing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I get a little bent out of shape with those people who say, oh, it was a snooze fest. I mean, I thought that was a pretty darn exciting race, as I thought last week's in France was. We didn't have quite as much passing, but it was a really tense situation, seeing if Max Verstappen, who had switched pit stop strategies, could run down Lewis, and he did. Similar situation here. Perez trying to run down Bottas, and he couldn't on fresher tires. So it's, I guess it depends on what you want from your racing. But I mean, I could watch this kind of stuff all the time. Maybe it's because I've been involved with Formula One for so long, but I thought it was a really cool race. And when you know a little bit about the situation among the teams and drivers, and you watch how their races play out, your heart had to be broken for Pierre Gasly, who ran into, I think the number was 4 different cars in the first couple of corners and wound up sitting in the garage. And then George Russell, who had such great qualifying for Williams, and his car failed him. You saw during Russell's pit stop, they were trying to put compressed air into one of the side pods. So I suspect his pneumatic valve system in the engine failed him. They had a leak or something, time will tell. But that was tough too, because it would have been a great thing for Williams if he could have finished anywhere near the points. So, interesting day. Ferrari did not fall off a cliff like they did a week ago in France. Good runs for Charles Leclerc, who had a big charge late in the race. And Carlos Sainz had a good one as well. Decent race for McLaren, although Lando Norris didn't produce quite the way we hoped he would during the race. I think there's a lot to talk about this show, and I thought it was a good race.
Well, you're right on Latifi's side pod. He actually did collect a piece out of that early melee, went into it, and that's what they removed from the side pod, and that's what inflicted the damage in that area.
In George Williams?
Mhm. Williams, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right, Bob. You know, it's funny. We talk. There was a little chatter on Twitter and stuff about the race not being the most exciting. But if you're a true fan, there's so much going on to pay attention to and to root for and all that. So I agree with you on that. And so I mean I don't really get that sometimes. Yes, I've said the same thing. And France last weekend, that was a fantastic race.
Right.
So I think there's plenty of action.
Yeah, I get my panties in a wad about this sort of, oh, it was a boring race. If you're a true fan, if you're following the sport, if you know the ebb and flow of what's going on during the week, not just on the race weekend, and then you watch practice and qualifying and you see how it all plays out and what the stories are, and then the race is the denouement to the whole thing, and that's part of being a Formula One fan. That's why we love Grand Prix racing.
Well, let me give out the phone number because I said it in the pre-show before the race. We are going to give away some tickets to the USGP here in Austin, Texas. The phone number is 512-643-5483. The topic is exactly what we were just talking about. What do you think about the excitement of Formula One these days, particularly compared to years past? So give us a call, 512-643-LIVE. But let's talk about, let me just run down. So Max Verstappen won the race, Lewis Hamilton behind him, then Valtteri Bottas in a battle right to the end of the race with Sergio Perez, who's in fourth. Lando Norris, who started third, ended up in fifth. Then the Ferraris, sixth and seventh. Carlos Sainz in sixth, Charles Leclerc in seventh. So a good day for Ferrari, I would say. Then Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso in ninth in the points, Yuki Tsunoda in the points. Then Kimi Räikkönen, Sebastian Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, Esteban Ocon, Antonio Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, Nicholas Latifi, and Nikita Mazepin, and then George Russell and Pierre Gasly, of course, who didn't finish the race as we talked about. But so, Bob, let's talk about, we touched on everybody, but what about the Ferrari cars? Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, they got to be happy with 6th and 7th today, right?
I think they'd be over the moon with 6th and 7th. As we talked about in the pre-race show, Carlos Sainz basically said, this is a test for us, not so much of a race. We need to find out what our problem is with the car. Granted, France was a very much different circuit last week where they had such a horrible weekend. But here, I think whatever they've done to the car, or whether it's the track or the weather conditions or whatever it was, I think this was a good day for Ferrari considering.
All right. Well, we do have some callers calling in. Are we ready to take some callers, producer? He is giving me the one finger, which means not that finger.
Not the one in the middle? Oh, good, because I was like, now we're going to dead air.
I guess we're lighting up the phones a little bit with the offers for some tickets. That's fun. Well, Les, what do you think about Alonso and, behind the Ferraris, we had Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda. That's a nice little gathering right there.
Absolutely. For one, Alonso's been showing well, and that is one of the things that I like. I want to see him get back in. I want to see him in a front run again. His qualifying has been good. I'm good with what's happening. I feel like he's getting on his horse, as we say around here, and he's going to show well, as long as everybody else keeps things together.
Alonso's race puts his teammates in stark contrast. I mean, poor Esteban Ocon didn't qualify well, started 17th, finished 14th. I mean, this is a guy who just signed a new, 5-year contract?
I think 3-year contract, whatever. 3-year, yeah.
Yeah, 3 years, which is long by Formula One standards. The Alpine team is still high on this kid, but boy, oh boy, today he was just nowhere near, which is has got to be very frustrating for him. And I wonder what the problem was, because Alonso, the wild veteran and 2-time world champion, was able to secure a points finish on the day.
All right, well, let's go to some callers because we've got some new callers. Let's start with Paul. Let's see, where is Paul? Paul is driving on I-65. Hey, Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. Where are you?
I'm driving back to Florida from North Georgia. Listen to the race on XM radio, so enjoying it.
Well, by your accent, you sound like you're not from Florida.
Now, I'm from Worcestershire, right in the middle of England, about 100 miles northwest of London. But I've been living over here about 30 years.
So that's how you say that? It's Worcestershire sauce?
Worcester sauce, yeah. Worcester is the city. Worcestershire is the county. So, Worcester sauce.
There you go.
We finally solved that. I've wondered that for decades.
You know, our own local Brit, we call him, Jonathan Green, could not explain it so well. Thank you.
Hey, so Paul, what'd you think of the race today?
It's great. I enjoyed the race. I watch a lot of Sky Sports, so they do a lot of pit talk and all that, explains all the races. I think people who just turn on Sunday to watch the race, it can be a little bit boring, I understand, but it's like when I came over here with American football, I didn't understand it. But the more you learn about it, the more interesting it comes. I think it's probably the same in Formula One. If you watch all the qualifying and the practice and all the things that are going on, it becomes a lot more interesting.
I love that because, we're often using American football as kind of our benchmark as we look at other things. I think it's great to hear somebody that came and had the same challenges that so many Americans have with the Formula One sport. So, Paul, what is your impression of what's happening with Formula One here in the United States now?
I'm excited about it. I think it's getting more popular. I'm actually going to the Austin races, and they were saying it was nearly sold out. So I think there's a lot of interest in it. And I think with the teams and like Aston Martin and Lance Stroll, and they're using it as a platform to promote their things. So I think there's good things happening. And in the drivers, I listened to the interview, your young driver, to have a good American driver would be great in the sport, I think, too, to get more interest.
Yeah, no doubt. That, to me, that's one of the keys for it. Well, Paul, thank you for calling in. And you said you're already going to the race here in Austin?
Well, I hope to, I haven't got tickets yet, but I'm hoping to go and enjoy the race. So,
well, fantastic, because I'm going to give you a pair of tickets. So hang on the line.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. So hang on the line. You're quite welcome. Hang on the line. We'll get your information. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for calling.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. Enjoyed the show.
Thank you.
Right, that's great. That's great. Okay. Now, see, I like that. British guy says he likes the show. And it's not Jonathan or any of his relatives.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple other people holding. We have Josh in Rhode Island. Hey, Josh, welcome to Speed City.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good. What'd you think of the race today?
We're in the car driving. We listened to it. It seemed not super exciting, but we felt bad for George. We always like the underdog, and today we thought it was going to be his day to get points, and more bad luck for the guy. So a little heartbroken for George, but Max still seems to be really got a great car this year.
Yeah, no doubt. Max has got a fast car. Are you a big F1 fan? Do you follow real closely? Do you listen to or watch all the races?
We do, yeah. During quarantine, we started watching Drive to Survive, and my wife, believe it or not, she's even more diehard. But everybody's Instagram feed to, we watch all the qualifying.
Twitter.
Last week we were driving in the car, and we were actually watching YouTube TV. That's the only way we can listen to qualifying in the car driving. So we're we become pretty diehard. It's really fun. We're excited to find it, and it's the first sport that my entire family. We all enjoy, my wife and son, all of us enjoy.
Alrighty.
Enjoy it together. So it's really fun.
All right. We've only heard her as wife, and we've only heard him as son. Wife, who's your driver?
Oh, that's a really hard call. I mean, I love Lewis, right? How could we not? But Gasly's my guy. I think he's great. I think he's having a great season. Today was awful for him, and he was looking so good in qualifying. So if I had to choose one, I'd probably go with Gasly or Lando too. But if I have to choose one, right? I can only choose one. Gasly's my driver.
Oh,
anybody but Mazepin.
Anybody but Mazepin.
Now, how do you pronounce his last name?
Mazepin. Oh, Mazepin.
There you go.
I'd like to say we made that up. Yeah, we didn't make that up, but we definitely adopted it.
All right. Well, how about son? Who is son cheering for?
Who are you cheering for? for, Jules? Sorry, he's playing video games right now. Hold on. Who's your number one?
He's on the simulator already.
Future Formula One driver.
Say it louder. Max Verstappen.
All right.
Max Verstappen.
Max is his number one.
I like the dynamics of this family already. I got to tell you, I love this. Okay, Dad. Who for you, Dad?
I don't know why, but I really like Carlos, and I liked Max last year, but this year, now that he's less of an underdog, I'd say probably Carlos or Pierre. Yeah, that's what I'd say, Carlos or Pierre.
You like Sergio too?
Sergio too, and Alonso, I like that he's getting back into it and he's coming on. I think he's going to be on the podium this year, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And even Vettel. We didn't follow Vettel when he was the top of the world, but now I'm kind of wondering why he's still racing, because, you know, he had his glory, but I like how he keeps fighting, and he's had some bad luck the last couple of years, and he just seems like a really nice guy.
Hey,
so,
well, y'all be
he's an underdog.
That's fantastic. Great to hear from the whole family. And y'all be sure and follow us on all our social media. You'll catch on. We've got a lot of things going on. We're going to invite you to come to the race, but you got to enter the drawings and things that take place there.
Yeah, and guys, we've got just a handful of tickets to give away today, but I can't give away another tickets to you guys right now, but I am going to give away some stuff. I am going to give you guys a free, some swag, and so we're going to give you some Formula One swag. So hang on the line, and we'll get to that. Thank you all for calling very much, and appreciate you listening. All right, let's go to we got to go to a break because we're up against the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll take some more calls, and we'll continue to break down the race. You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM. Back after these messages.
Hi, this is Gene Haas, and this is Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM.
All right, welcome back to the show. We watched the Formula One Styrian Grand Prix in Austria. We got another race in Austria coming up, but we still have some callers on the line, so we want to talk to some folks, and we appreciate them calling in and listening. So we're going to go to Brecken in Alabama. Brecken, welcome to Speed City. What did you think of the race today?
Oh, we loved it. My husband and I, we fell in love with F1 over the pandemic, just like a lot of other people did. And for us, every race is kind of exciting because you never know what's going to happen. And it's also kind of random for two people from North Alabama to become such huge F1 fans. And we just had our first baby girl, and she gets up with us and watches the races too. So it's a whole family thing for us.
I love this. The second F1 family calling in.
That's awesome.
Awesome stuff.
I know the first people kind of took our thunder, but it's okay.
Hey, you know what? I love the fact that Drive to Survive, is that what you fell in love with it over Drive to Survive?
Yes, we binged it in like 2 days. And just seeing everyone's stories and seeing the passion, the excitement, all the work that you wouldn't know really goes into building these F1 cars, that for us is what made it really exciting. And then you have the race, which is just anything can happen on any given day.
Well, that is fantastic. And you're right. We haven't had a lot of anecdotal evidence, just like your two callers here. But I think F1 has hit this thing out of the park with that series. And I think everybody loves to see that behind-the-scenes drama. You know, there's things on there that we've never seen. I mean, we spend time in the paddock, especially here at COTA. And there's so cool. Yeah, and there's these stories that we've never seen before either. So let me ask you this. I'll steal some of your thunder, Les, what you asked earlier. Who are your favorites now? I mean, who are you fans of? Either drivers or Gunther or whoever?
Well, my husband is a huge Max Verstappen fan, but we're Haas fans because they're, American.
Less American, though.
Some of them.
Yeah, he's on speakerphone with me. This is my husband, Jay Laughlin.
Did you hear
when
Bob?
When I first started, I was a big Haas fan. First season of Drive Survive, pretty decent, the only American team. So that was from the get-go. I ordered a bunch of Haas stuff. Then really disappointing year last year, obviously. And I know they basically were already looking ahead to next season, so I didn't expect much this year. But I am very happy and looking forward to Schumacher's future with the team. Hopefully he stays on for a while.
Well,
Mazepin, we obviously we need that funding, but a lot left to be desired for me.
Hey, you know what? I love the fact that these are new fans. They totally get it about the funding and why we have Mazepin and what's going on with that. Well, guys, maybe the 2022 car will be something that'll get us back up in the points. But, hey, thank you all for calling. Stay on the line because I'm going to get you guys some Haas swag. We're going to find something special. You've got some stuff already. So we're going to get you guys some Haas F1 swag. So stay on the line and we'll get your information. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling.
Maybe a Mazepin bobblehead.
Yeah.
They're going to have to Google Uralkali so they can explain why they're walking around with a Russian fertilizer company image.
It's true, Bob. Bob, I heard your comment when they said, we love the Americans, and you said some of them. I think our producer, is he ready to take another call? Yes, let's talk to Matt outside Philly. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're good. We're good. Great. How are you?
It's amazing to me that you can get callers from Rhode Island, a trucker that was from England, driving in Georgia to Florida, people in Alabama, and now me and here in Philadelphia. And it's like, wow, what a great thing. Formula One is literally bringing the world closer together.
Man, this is working because did you guys see the numbers on the ESPN television numbers last week? They were a million viewers watching this. I mean, and that was bigger. And IndyCar was talking about how big their race was, and it was only 900,000. So I really think we may be seeing a groundswell.
Finally got through that glass ceiling that we were.
Yeah, it may be. I mean, we've been talking about it since we started this show a decade ago.
Yeah.
So, well, Matt, are you a long-term fan or a new fan?
So, I mean, I've been a big race fan. I was big into NASCAR in college and sort of just went away, did the working thing, and never really had time for racing. But through my uncle who lives down there in Dallas and my sister and brother-in-law that live in Austin, they're all big race fans. And, my uncle has always been a Ferrari guy. And so we sort of developed back in. And, one day I guess it was about a year and a half ago, he sat me down and just like everybody else, watching Drive to Survive, and it's just like, wow, okay, all right, I'm back, and so I mean, you follow along. I mean, obviously everybody has their favorites, and I think that's what makes it great, the competition, and you get to follow along the stories. It's sort of like a true life reality show that has a lot more money involved.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. And you know what? Have you been to one of the Formula One races here? I'm not offering you tickets.
I have not. I have not. I think I want to bring my my 4-year-old down for. He's going to be 5 next week, but I want to bring him down because we haven't really been able to travel much, and I'd like to get him down there in October for the race. My uncle will drive in from Dallas, and I'll go and see my sister. So. It'd be fun. I mean, it'd be fun to try and get down there and see everybody and see everything. Heard some really cool stories about some really cool things down there with different drivers doing really cool special things. And I understand that COTA is like a really cool place to go.
Absolutely. And definitely follow the Speed City crew here during race weeks, especially Formula One. We may split up, and you'll find one of us at one event, one of us at another. And, I'll go and handle, the Ferrari club. John and Jonathan may be going and putting on a simulator race. Bob will be in town, taking care of another event. So catch up with us. Guys here now, and you'll certainly find something amongst us to have fun with.
Well, Matt, we're out of tickets to give away today, but we are giving away some swag, and we're also going to give away tickets all the rest of the season. So just stay tuned. Stay tuned to that. And also, let me give out a website address to win tickets. If you go to speedcitybroadcast.com/win, you can enter your email address and get on a list there. And we're going to give away some tickets that way as well. But Matt, hang on the line. We're going to get you some swag too. So hang on the line, and we'll get you all your information, and we'll get you some swag.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Listen, be safe, and look forward to trying to see you guys down in Austin.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Philly, that is cool.
All right. Let's see. Go ahead, Bob.
Speaking of tickets, I'll ask you guys, since you're there in Austin, about the story that Bobby Epstein, the CEO at COTA, is going to offer another 20,000 tickets to add to the pile they've already sold for the regularly scheduled U.S. Grand Prix. And then there's the issue of potentially having another race. But, it sounds like Austin is back in the swing of things with regard to embracing this Formula One visit every year.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Bob. Hey guys, we got another couple callers. Let's go ahead and grab one. Let's see. We got Dave from Michigan. Hey Dave, welcome to Speed City.
Hey guys, good morning. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. How about you?
Not too bad. Before I make a comment on the race, I'd just like to address Bob Varsha, who by far is one of my favorite automotive commentators. Bob, I'm so happy that you're doing well. Congratulations on doing very well health-wise. Now, boys, let's talk about the race. I don't find anybody talking about Honda and how much improvement they've done to that engine. And my question for the experts is the speed at Red Bull from the engine, or is it from the rear-end development, whether it be the wing or the rear suspension? That car just seems to sit a lot better than the other cars, and it is so much faster down the straight. So I'll shut up and I'll listen to you guys.
Go ahead, Bob.
Where do we begin? Well, the engines, and this is something we talked about on the pre-race show, the engines are homologated, meaning you present your engine to the rules makers at the beginning of the season, and that's what you've got for the entire season. Now, you can make changes for reliability purposes, to fix bugs in the system, or for safety reasons. But Mercedes has taken it another step. Now that they are fully in the grips of Red Bull racing, by the throat, as it were, they're suggesting that maybe this Honda engine isn't quite the one that was homologated, which of course drives Red Bull crazy. And now Toto Wolff, who made the original comments, is like, oh, no, I didn't mean anything about that. The engine is unquestionably better. I mean, every time I see Red Bull, or AlphaTauri for that matter, flying down the road with a Honda in the back, I think, oh boy, the folks from McLaren, who suffered through multiple seasons with a poor Honda engine, must be biting their tongues. But having said all that, the Honda engine is great here as they prepare to leave the sport again, which is unfortunate. But they've also got Adrian Newey, who is, recognized as the design guru of Formula One these days. The car is a high-rate car, so it sits high at the back. They've made that concept work. Mercedes is a lower-rate car, and they're having problems with their aero, getting the tires switched on into their operating temperatures. So it's the whole package. The design of the Red Bull is working for them. The smaller rear wing they put on the car has given them some extra speed, but without adding downforce, and they still corner well. I mean, look at that drive today. They're only the second time in his career Max Verstappen led from flag to flag. And that's pretty remarkable.
Hey, well, Dave, we appreciate you calling from Michigan. We're kind of up against a break here. We appreciate it. We've got a couple callers still on the line, but before we go to break, I want to recognize our sponsor. The Speed City F1 post-race show on SiriusXM is brought to you by CrowdStrike. Use the cloud to secure your team in the office, at the track, or anywhere with CrowdStrike at crowdstrike.com/anywhere. So let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll get to some more callers. We'll continue to break down the race. And you're listening to Speed City live from Austin, Texas. Back after these messages.
Hello, I'm Jenny Gow from BBC F1. You are listening to Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on SiriusXM.
I love it that we're lighting up the phone all over the United States with Formula One fans. This is just a dream come true for us. The fact that the numbers are up, the callers are up. In fact, let's go to another caller. Let's talk to David, another Alabama caller. David in Alabama. David, welcome to the show. What'd you think of the race today?
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Hey, good. It was a good race. Some people said it was boring, but I really enjoyed it. Max has got a handle on this year. It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be his to lose this year.
Are you a
it'll
longtime
be
fan
interesting.
or new fan?
I am a long-term fan. I go back to Michael Schumacher years.
Nice.
When he was racing all that time, and I enjoy the history. I enjoy the direction that the sport is heading. I think the Drive to Survive has definitely catapulted this sport into a different area where people didn't recognize it or see it before. And like I said, I've followed the history of it. I go back to, Nicky Lauder, fantastic racer. And I definitely encourage anyone that has not seen the movie Rush to go see it.
Great movie.
Absolutely.
It is a fantastic movie. But yeah, I enjoyed the race. Really disappointing in Haas right now.
Yeah.
It's just, where do you point the finger? Where do you go? I know funning is the biggest issue, and it seems to be just repeated time and time again. And the team principal, Gunther, he promises things year after year, but it doesn't change. And, following from the States, we want to root for that team because that's our team, Gene Haas has put a lot of money and a lot of time into that, and not to have the results. I mean,
Bob, how would you reply? How would you
every
reply to David in Alabama? How would you reply to him about the Haas F1 team?
Well, I
would
agree with
reply to him.
everything he's
No, I was
saying.
thinking Bob Varsha. I was asking him how he would reply to you.
Well, I agree with everything he's saying, and I think it starts at the top. And that's Gene Haas himself and Gunther Steiner. They need leadership. They need, funding helps, but money isn't everything. It's what you spend your money on. And I think there's an interesting parallel between Gene Haas's NASCAR operation with Stewart Haas Racing and his Formula One team. Gene has broken new ground when it comes to creating a team by buying essentially off-the-shelf equipment. His driveline comes from Ferrari. The car is built by Dallara. They're moving away from that. But when you buy off-the-shelf stuff, you're no better than anybody else. And the same is true with his NASCAR operation. Yeah, you can buy all the equipment you want from Hendrick Motorsports, but you're not getting the same stuff that Hendrick is getting. And so, you're kind of putting yourself in a hole unless you've got some really outstanding engineering talent and out-of-the-box thinkers and R&D programs with the resources to turn them into parts that actually give you lap time in the race car. And, I think we talked about Drive to Survive, the Netflix show that has been so successful, showing us behind the scenes of Formula One and particularly behind the scenes at Haas. And I think time and again, as we watch Gunther Steiner, our old friend Gunther, ruining the fact that another race weekend has produced another back of the pack effort. And now he's got to call Gene Haas on the phone and he's got to try to explain what we're doing and how we're going to get better and all that sort of thing. I really don't envy him that position. But by the same token, I think maybe, there are things that he can do that aren't getting done right now. I mean, I remember a race when he still had Magnussen and Grosjean driving for him, and they were having trouble. So they decided to go to a race with their latest setup on the car and their season opening Australia setup on the car. And Gunther said, get in him and drive. He didn't say, here's what I want out of you. Don't touch anybody else. Certainly don't touch each other. This is a test for us. I need laps. We need information. We need data. But he wasn't in their faces saying, here's what you've got to do. It was sort of, you guys figure it out. And he walked out the door. And I thought, well, that's not leadership. And, look at all the really successful teams. Hendrick is one. Penske Motorsport is another one. There's a reason those guys are where they are. And it's because they take charge and steer the ship.
Well, Bob, I think you're really on point there. I mean, very much so. You got to have a leader. And, in talking to David here, sounds like a smart guy. He knows this sport. I'm a little concerned because he may wear crimson instead of burnt orange. But when you go back to leadership, I think of Joe Gibbs Racing and how successful they've been. And so, I just got to say, David, can you give Nick Saban a call and see what he's up to?
Yeah, they need it. And I just want to add to that. I agree, and I think you're hitting on all the right points. And he's definitely funny for commentary on Drive to Survive, but he's not a leader. And I'm sorry, when he put the driver, Mick just came out, and the information came out with his seat not being in the correct position of that car, and they didn't know. It's the little details like that make a difference.
Exactly.
That did occur to me too. It's like, well, wait a minute. How could his seat not be right? I mean, this is Formula One where thousandths of a second matter in a race and thousands of a millimeter matter in a car. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that came up, but it still goes back to exactly that point, is Mick is not symmetrical, and they didn't get into the details, but I get it. I mean, some people, their leg is a little different, their hip is a little different, left to right, things like that. But still, that seat is such a huge part of his connection to the car in every way for it not to be right. And then, then you got Sebastian Vettel. They were talking, and Sebastian came up with one idea was break the seat.
Break the seat. Yeah, right, exactly.
Break the seat.
There's a great example. Gunther Steiner was asked about it. He said, well, first of all, I didn't know about it. Okay. And secondly, he said, Mick can have a new seat whenever he wants one. What? No. Mick gets a new seat because he needs a new seat. He needs it right now. You don't have to wait for him to put his hand in the air and say, please, sir, can I have another seat? And, it's just.
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree. David in Alabama, thank you for calling. We appreciate it. And let's go to the next caller. We have Thomas, and I can't see where you are, Thomas. Thomas, Thomas, you're in Illinois, it looks like. Yeah.
Yes, I live in Huntsville, Alabama. I follow Formula One on Sirius XM.
Well, all these callers from Alabama. You're the third.
I'm not complaining here.
It's the new hotbed of Formula One.
Listen, I am not from Alabama. I moved to Alabama, and there's a running joke between my son-in-law and me. We say that NASCAR is their god in Alabama. But I cannot say Formula One too loud. I'll be run out of town. Anyway, when my daughter had the twins, I went to visit her and her husband, and I had my twin grandsons, one in each arm, watching Formula One at 6 months old. And today they watch Formula One together.
Awesome.
As a parent of twins, thank you for helping.
And I have another grandson that's into Formula One. He likes it too. So
good.
I want to be that cool, Granddad.
Yeah, I enjoyed the race today. Of course, I listened to it on Sirius XM, but I try to watch it whenever I can live. And I've been following Formula One since 2006 when I came back from Germany.
Oh, awesome. Well, Thomas, thank you. We appreciate your input, and we thank you very much for listening. And be safe out there on the road. But let's go ahead and we got a couple more callers. We've got Larry in Telluride. Welcome to the show, Larry.
Hey, good morning. Long-time fan.
Oh,
I
thanks.
was lucky enough to live in Europe in the 70s and then Saudi Arabia in the 80s when they were supporting the Williams team. So,
Right.
And the closest I've ever got to actually going to a race was 96 in Buenos Aires, but that fell through. But let me tell you a quick story. I was bartending up on the ski area here in Telluride, and a lady walks in. She goes, I own the such and such NASCAR team. I said, that's nice, but 800 left turns isn't racing. If you got money, how come you're not in Formula One? And she said, I got money, but not that kind of money. So
that much money.
I think with putting the new budget constraints on the teams, it's going to level the playing field. And I don't have a favorite team right now. I'm probably rooting for Aston because Haas is so bad, and Stroll is really getting behind it. And I've always been a fan of the Aston cars to begin with. But anyway, yeah, if you guys can pull off two races at COTA this year, that'd be awesome.
Oh, man. That's what we're really hoping for, Larry. If we can, we just found out that MotoGP has rescheduled. They're going to be October 3rd. And then, of course, we've got the USGP on October 24th. But if we can squeeze in another Formula One race, our October is going to be about as good as you could possibly hope for here in Austin.
I moved a friend of mine that I know from Telluride. I helped her move first to Dripping Springs, and she's in Austin. But I asked her, can I come down and stay? She goes, man, it is nuts. It is so nuts that my friends take helicopters. There is so many people want to go to that race. And, I think the key to getting Americans more involved in the sport is we have to develop karting.
Yeah.
Because until the kids learn karting, and then that progresses into the F3, the F2. Unless I'm mistaken, there is not a citizen of the United States that holds a current F1 license, and that's disgusting.
That's probably true. I wish Jonathan were on the show. Jonathan's not on the show because he's our young driver expert, and I know he keeps track of every American with super license points.
Well, Santino.
I looked it up the other day, and I think 16 was the last year that there was an American with a valid license, and now the only active person is this kid Jonathan that was on the show earlier. The 16-year-old that's in the F3.
Jack Crawford. Yeah.
There's 4 Americans.
Yeah, I mean that's for a country of over 300 million people. To not have anybody at that level, I mean, and I think it comes down to not having karting. I had a go-kart when I was a kid, and I mean, I'm blasting 40 miles an hour down a dirt road in South Dakota, and thought it was just the greatest thing, And then my brother ran into the house and the go-kart went away. But
yeah. Thanks, brother.
Well, I think what we need to make this really happen is we need what I said in the pre-show, and that is we need an American driver. If we have an American driver, the kids are going to start going, wow, this is cool. How do I do this? And then we can point them to karting, point them to the ladder system, whether it's...
Do they need to go recruit out of NASCAR? I mean, Kyle Larson is not a big guy.
Yeah.
And it's all a power to weight ratio, I mean, if you cut me in half, I'm still too big, So, and I don't see why, guys like Ricardo. I mean, he's tall and thin, but I mean, he's a big guy. I'm also a fan of horse racing. You need jockeys.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, Larry. You're right. I mean, we knew there's a lot of things we need to do, and we're working on all of that. So, Larry, thanks for calling. We appreciate you listening as well. And we got another caller. Let's go ahead and go to Mike. We've got just a couple of minutes, but Mike, welcome back to Speed City. It says repeat caller. How's it going?
How are you guys this morning?
Oh, pretty good. I recognize that, Mike. That's Corvette Mike.
Hey, how are you? Out here from North LA. I'm taking the day off. I watched the race. It was kind of, to me, it got interesting. But the 2 points I wanted to make up, that as we're speaking on Formula One, it's more than just watching the race, as Mr. Varsha has explained, and I think he should put on a new show, F1 101. It's the team thing. It's not about the driver each, who's going to win. It's the team is first and foremost. And then there was a few weeks ago, you guys were talking about the scheduling and all those things for Formula One, and my real enjoyment was waking up early on Sunday morning with the children still in bed, me, the dog, a cup of coffee, and watching Formula One. I just enjoyed that so much.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of moms and dads that can try to do the same thing, that can relate to that. But, well, Mike, hey, thanks, buddy. We appreciate you calling. We got to get to the break. And let's go ahead and do that now. When we come back, we'll continue. We got some more stories. I've got some clips that I want to play. We got some clips from Bobby Epstein, because he was on not too long ago. And maybe one about the salary cap from Mark Gallagher, who was on the show last year. All right, you listen to Speed City live from Austin, back after this break.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM.
Has your workforce moved from the office to the home or to the garage, or maybe a rented cabin with open Wi-Fi? If your company has expanded outside the office and moved all your applications to the cloud, there's a whole new world of threats you have to worry about, including ransomware. CrowdStrike revolutionized security by harnessing the speed and power of the cloud to identify and stop the most advanced cyber attacks, even those that have never been seen before. So now you can work securely anywhere. Try CrowdStrike Falcon free today and protect your data and employees anywhere. Welcome to Anywhere. CrowdStrike. We stop breaches. Access the CrowdStrike Falcon platform free at crowdstrike.com/anywhere. anywhere. All right, Bob Varsha, you made a comment during the break about you wanted to reply to Larry up in Telluride about American drivers. What was your comment on that?
Well, he makes a good point about having an American driver in the series, and the thing everybody has to understand, and it's not an excuse, is that here in the United States, as the British would say, we are spoiled for choice. A young driver has so many avenues. They can go, short track racing, they can go dirt racing, they can ride the NASCAR, they can hope for IndyCar. So to tell a kid like Jack Crawford, whom we heard from this morning, okay, you're going to have to go over as a teenager. Nobody wants a guy who's past his 20th birthday as a rookie in Formula One. And you're going to have to go live on your own. You're going to have to learn the racetracks. You're going to have to learn your opponents. You got to have to learn how the whole thing works. And that's a big ask when you can stay here in the States and make good money and, have fun racing and sleep in your own bed at night and all that kind of thing. The list of American drivers who have stuck a toe in the water of Formula One in testing, guys like Jeff Gordon and Rick Mears and Al Unser Jr. and on and on and on, there were chances out there. But they just chose to stay here, tied by a golden chain, as it were. So, it's going to take more than just, a kid with the motivation to go. There's got to be some kind of system in place to help them go if we really want to see a kid over there. I mean, I look at ACUS, the authorities, the sanctioning bodies here in the United States. If we want an American presence, then we've got to find a way to help these kids get over there. Red Bull is nice, but that's one program, and it's pretty full right now.
I heard Jeff Gordon speaking this week about his experience in that F1 car swap way back when, and he talked about it was such a huge jump from anything else he had driven. And he goes, and you consider what has happened since that time with Formula One cars, and he goes, I didn't think I would have been competitive at that time, and that's why he really didn't go any further, is it quite honestly kind of scared him. And he said, and the cars have advanced so far, and he goes, there's nothing that's really going to take an American driver from one of our existing series and put them into F1. They need to come up in that track towards F1 because it's such a big jump from IndyCar to F1. Coming from F1 to IndyCar, he felt like was considerably easier or much more appropriate. So I was surprised to hear him say that much.
Yeah, well, F1, like in its own way, IndyCar and NASCAR, the Cup Series, it's not a finishing school. It's not something you jump into because you want to be a racing driver. You have to have the skills and the experience and the knowledge. It's it's a big ask to get someone over there, and it takes help.
Well, right now, there's such an opportunity. Let me get out the phone number again real quick before I make that comment. It's 512-643-5483 if you want to call and comment on this or anything else in Formula One. But that right now, there is an incredible opportunity for an American driver. But I think there's a caveat. I said this in the pre-race show, and the opportunity is that they could literally change the way the Americans view this sport. It's because if we had an American driver that the whole sport could grow because of that. But I think the caveat is they have to be winning. They can't just jump on the Haas F1 team and ride around the back and then change the sport. I think if they were winning races, or at least competing for wins, if they were on the podium with a chance to win, and we've seen some unlikely wins in the last, Gasly last year. And so, if you had an American driver winning races or at least competing for races, that can make a difference. But if you had an American driver on a Red Bull or Mercedes or McLaren or someone that's going to win some races, that's, to me, the big carrot that you could dangle in front of one of these drivers like Colton Herta.
Right.
But the timing all has to be just right. Colton Herta coming up, his name was brought up a bunch last year by Gunther Steiner and others, right, in F1. But the timing has to be right. The seat has to be there. The silly season musical chairs has to be just right. There's all those factors, so it's not an easy task.
And I think once you get that, you're going to get the dominoes falling, and you're going to see advertisers, sponsorships, things like that really come through. You'll see more Formula One content just available in every format. I think will be part of it.
Yeah, there's so
Well,
much to this. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, on the subject of young American drivers, I was just looking for the results. The W Series, the all-female racing series that David Coulthard is behind, raced for the first time this weekend with Formula One in Austria. And Sabre Cook, young American engineering graduate, she finished 15th out of 18. So it wasn't a great weekend for her, but she's out there doing what we're talking about here. She's racing on these tracks, with these other women who all dream of being Formula One drivers. And it was kind of a significant weekend. Alice Powell of Great Britain won the race over her compatriot, a girl named Sarah Moore, who is openly LGBTQ. So her being on the podium was a first for that series and maybe for motorsports entirely. So I thought that was a pretty cool historical note today. But congratulations to Sabre Cook, who's living the dream over there.
Yeah, and I want everybody to follow follow the W Series, because they're going to be coming to Austin. Actually, they're going to be part of the series here, part of the weekend here at the USGP. So that'll be fun to watch. And they had like you said, Bob. The race was. What'd you say? Who's the winner of the race? I'm sorry, I drew a blank there.
The W Series race?
Yes.
Was Alice Powell.
Alice Powell, that's right. And she won the race, but there's some really interesting drivers in that series, so we'll continue to follow it as well. But let's see what else we got on our agenda today, because Les, you had some things in our document here you want to talk about.
Absolutely. There were a couple of things that came up that I wanted to talk about, and that is the sprint qualifying races that have been pretty topical, pretty polarizing, to be honest, of whether you like the idea of a 20 or 30-minute race on Saturday to set the grid for Sunday's race. Well, if you haven't heard what this is, it's a 20 to 30-minute race. Everybody's going to be out there going, and the finishing order sets the grid for Sunday. What's good about it? More race time, more hot lap, more hot sessions. It's going to require a different strategy than the long form race on Sunday. So that's that. Some folks are like, well, does that drive up the cost of operations for the race teams? It could.
Absolutely.
And that could definitely come into play, more items there. Is there something that could be different? Well, there's a million conversations out there about what could be different, but this is what it is. I'm excited because I want to see this in person here in Austin at Circuit of the Americas. And like I said, right now it's a very strong consideration.
Yeah, which it might happen. What I like about it is that Formula One's willing to try it. Let's try this.
Something.
Yeah, well, let's see if it works, and if it draws more of a crowd in, because let's face it, there's so much competition for content. And I mean, NASCAR's got this problem in a big way with their 4-hour races, right? Formula One, that you're going to be able to get in and out of qualifying in an hour, and you're going to get in and out of a race in less than 2 hours. And but maybe you don't even have that. Maybe you think, well, I'll watch the race on Saturday. I can't watch it on Sunday, but maybe I'll watch it on Saturday. You might get a viewer that might not watch qualifying, but might watch a sprint race. What do you think, Bob?
Well, Les hit it on the head in terms of the extra budget it's going to require for the teams, and they were unwilling to do this until a settlement was reached, and the teams are going to get hundreds of thousands of extra dollars to do this Saturday qualifying race kind of thing. I'm in favor of it. I think it's a great thing to try. I'm supposed the TV companies had to weigh in on the whole thing, and of course Pirelli providing tires. The tire rules will make your head explode. I've tried to master them, but I'm not going to open my mouth until I think I have. It's going to be different, and it's going to kind of change the nature of the weekend in terms of the tension and the preparation. God forbid you bend your race car. What happens to the Park for May rules? What if my car gets broken on Saturday? What can I do to it to be ready on Sunday? They're talking about reverse grids, which is another whole kettle of fish. So, it's interesting, but I agree that the fact that Formula One is willing to try to make this even more entertaining for the fans, get more cars on track over the course of the weekend, I think is a good thing.
And of course, the first 2 races where they're going to do the sprint races are confirmed, and that's Silverstone on July 18th, 16th, 18th, that weekend. And then Monza is being used in September. But I'm reading an article on racer.com where the third venue is unconfirmed, but it had looked to be likely Brazil, but Racer Magazine understands that Austin could also be selected. So you're right, Les. Let's cross our fingers and
We'll
see.
take it.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. Would that be cool? I mean, part of history in a way.
Well, we were also one of the first tracks to see the test of the virtual safety car.
Yeah, that's true. Going way back.
So, I think there's something about the engineering of COTA that plays out well for them to test and collect data, experience it.
All right. Well, we have another caller on the line. We have Jim in Bakersfield, California. Hey, Jim, welcome to Speed City.
Hey, how you doing today?
Pretty good. What did you think of today's race?
I thought it was a great race. Actually, I've been a fan of Formula One for years. Back when Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna were racing, even probably a little before that. But I really enjoyed the race. I thought it's been a good season so far. I'm enjoying it and hoping for more good races this year.
It's been a fantastic season, in my opinion. I think it's been a great season. So you're out in Bakersfield. Exactly. Is there a community out there? Like, do you ever go to like watch parties or anything out there? Because we got some fans in, I think, in the San Francisco area that have a big fan following. You do anything like that out in Bakersfield area?
I really haven't found any place like that here and locally to do that. Most of the races are early in the morning, so it's hard to do that here because places aren't open at that time.
California.
But yeah. But like I said, this morning I was watching those. I listen to the races all the time on Sirius XM with you guys. But most of them are like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, so most places aren't open to watch races like that. But I do listen to them a lot, and I try to catch them on TV when I can. But mostly it's just listening to them on the radio.
Yep. Well, you said you've been a fan for a long time. Do you have a team that you're a big fan of or a driver?
Well, Ferrari has been my team for years, decades. Way before Schumacher, obviously. But mainly Ferrari drivers. But Max Verstappen this year has really been exciting to listen to and watch, and I'm kind of rooting for him this year to win it all.
Yep, I wouldn't put that past Max Verstappen. And guys, I think they realize that Mercedes hasn't won. Was it 4? They've gone 4 races without a win now. That's got to be the first time in the turbo hybrid era, right?
Yep, absolutely. First time in 7 years now that that Mercedes has not won 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, hey, thanks to Jim in Bakersfield for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we thank you for calling. We appreciate the callers too. So let's go ahead and take our last break of the show, and when we come back, we'll continue to do that, and I am going to play a couple of those clips that we got set up. So you're listening to Speed City live from Austin. Back after these messages.
Hi, this is Jay Leno from JayLenosGarage.com, and you're listening to Speed City.
You're listening to Speed City F1 on Sirius XM.
512-643-5483 is the number if you want to call and join the show. And we got to see Max Verstappen extend his championship lead at his home circuit at the Styrian Grand Prix in Austria. We talked earlier in the show about Bobby Epstein. We had Bobby on the show a few weeks ago, and we talked, and it was right when the news came out that we might get a second race here in Austin. And we asked him a question that I want to play this clip. What do you got, Les?
Hey, just in case you don't know Bobby Epstein is really the co-founder and CEO of the Circuit of the Americas. And so this is somebody in the know. It's not just
that's true. Yeah, Bobby Epstein, chairman and founder, chairman, and CEO of Circuit of the Americas. And this clip that I want to play from Bobby is what the difference between the USGP and if we do get the second race, what that would be.
Possibility.
So, the possibility. Let's hear from Bobby.
We wouldn't want to do anything that compromises the incredible event that the United States Grand Prix is, and the planning for which starts, way more than a year in advance. So I think if we did have another weekend, I don't see it being quite the same sort of show and have the same schedule. And I don't know about support races. I mean, it's really early to talk about that, but certainly it's tough. I can't see it being the U.S. Grand Prix type event.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? And I want to play one more clip from Bobby Epstein on that's talking about, because when we talked about the second race, there was the discussion of maybe Indy hosting the race. And then, of course, this natural discussion leads to Miami about how the Miami race next year and how that affects COTA and how that all affects this. So let's hear from Bobby Epstein on that.
Well, I think it'd be fine. I know the teams have expressed concern about Indianapolis being hard to do in October. Their first frost, I think, is on average October 10th or 11th. We could probably Google that. But I think that's one of the concerns that they'd have about going to Indy in October. But, I think Miami's going to be super complimentary to what we're doing. And I think Indianapolis could be the same. It just has to find the right spot on the calendar. So I know that's one of the factors that has to be weighed. And then when you try and do back-to-back weeks, as we know, the strain on the teams and the employees that move around with this, it's asking a lot. And I think we have Mexico right after us.
Yeah, he's right about that. Mexico is right after us. And, man, wouldn't that make for a nice European trip for somebody? They fly over to Austin and come watch the MotoGP race October 3rd, watch a couple of Formula One races, and then go to Mexico. Then take that month-long American vacation. Bob Varsha, I want to ask you about next week. We're coming back to Austria. So what's the difference?
Well, it's going to be interesting with this back-to-back races at the same track again this year to see how teams react. Excuse me. Obviously, listening to Lewis Hamilton's post-race interview, he seemed so depressed about, what can we do? Last year, we dominated this race. This year, we couldn't touch Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. So it's going to be interesting to see what happened. And keep in mind, they are going to use different tire compounds. They will go one step softer, which will be interesting in terms of the impact it has on strategies and so forth. And they're also, on a busy schedule, going to be testing a new rear tire that Pirelli hopes to use at the following race at Silverstone, where they had tire problems in recent seasons, just to avoid that circumferential sidewall tire failure that afflicted Lance Stroll and Max Verstappen in Baku, Azerbaijan. So, there's going to be a lot going on next week. And I'll also be interested to see what kind of crowd they get and, how the whole situation unfolds with these back-to-back things as perhaps a model for what I personally think is going to be a series of these back-to-back races in the future, because we talked about Mexico. Is that on the Great Britain red list, the countries that for pandemic reasons, the British government doesn't want their citizens going? And of course, Britain is the dominant citizenry of Formula One. Brazil could very well be off. Japan, Australia. I mean, there could be holes in the schedule. And if they're going to get to 23 races, as Formula One says they want to, we're going to have to get creative, I'm convinced, in the later parts of this year.
That's a really good point.
Unless we forget,
yes?
The other news story this week was that the Russian Grand Prix is going to move from Sochi after 2022. They're going to race there this year and next. And then 2023, it's going to a brand new Hermann Tilke designed, purpose-built racetrack outside of St. Petersburg, Russia, beginning in 2023. So they have that to look forward to.
Oh, I thought that was coming to Florida, St. Petersburg. Dang it.
Oh, come on.
No, that's actually huge news, really. Another purpose-built circuit.
Well, and the Tilke ones are always interesting. I mean, I haven't heard who the true architect or whatever you want to call it. Like, we've got Schwantz.
Oh, you mean the original back of the napkin architect?
Yeah, the barroom napkin. I haven't heard anything on that.
Schwantz and, of course, Tavo Hellman. Yeah.
But,
Austinite Tavo Hellman.
Yeah, Tilke being part of it, it's going to be great. And, one of the things that a lot of folks have argued against is Tilke is very much a modern style. There's, the older tracks have tighter runoff and different curves, and there's just a personality to them. So I hope they have listened to those critics, and they'll kind of bring in a little bit of that.
Hey, I want to go back to something you said, Bob, about Hamilton. Did you guys hear? We tried to find this team radio, but it's not up where we can grab it. But where Hamilton came on the radio, and basically they were talking about the gaps and everything, and Hamilton just sounded totally lost. He said, "What should I do?" I mean, and the team really wasn't giving him clear instruction.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was almost flabbergasted when they said something about 8 seconds, and he said, "I don't understand. What's 8 seconds about?" And he said, "That's the gap to Max." And he said, as you pointed out, he said, "What can I do?" Hey, Lewis, welcome back to reality.
Yeah, race like the rest of us.
Sometimes you're stuck.
He's like, well, I don't know. I don't understand. You mean I can't win the race? There's no way for me to win. He couldn't get that through his head that there was no way for him to win the race.
You're first loser.
Hey, I also wrote in my notes about Hamilton. How about that where he came this close to spinning on lap 25? He almost lost it right in the middle of the race.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. My wife was next to me. I said, "Watch his hands, watch his hands." He put full lock as he went over the curbs. Yeah, that was a moment.
Yeah, full lock, which means he didn't have any more to give, and he was able to save that car. I mean, that was pretty close.
Yeah.
What else? I have my notes. Oh, did you guys see the 2.0 pit stop for Red Bull, of course, that Verstappen had on lap 31?
Yeah.
So
that was great. A lot of pit stop problems in that race too.
Good point.
The team had a problem. Somebody else had trouble getting wheels off. Bottas had a little trouble getting the left rear off, as I recall. Perez had about a 4-second stop with a balky wheel, which is why Bottas was able to jump him on the pit stop rotation. And Perez was really never able to get it back despite stopping for fresh tires.
I keep thinking about all the contributions of having such a short lap to that. To me, that's pressure and tension in the pit, and the fumbles that you just described. To me, it even so here's something that I recognized was lap 6. There was a blue flag out at lap 6.
I saw that. I saw you notice it. I mean,
yeah,
Mr. Blue Flag.
Yeah, and I mean, that is really something to see it that early in a race. And gosh, did we ever have a yellow flag? I don't think we ever had yellow. I don't think we had any flags, did we?
No yellows. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Wow.
So think about that. How short that lap was. How congested things were. Yet it was accomplished without any flags, even in that melee at the beginning of it. And so and that was, to me, that was very impressive.
Yeah. Let's see what else. We had a couple people tweet us. We love it when you guys tweet us or Facebook at us during the show because we monitor all of those. William Ricker said, enjoying the post-race show on XM after, he was synced up XM with the television. So that's cool. He was doing that. Amanda tweeted at us, said, love chatting with you on the show after the race. Thanks for putting us on the air. Joshua is still smiling. I think that was the kid in the back seat who was playing video games. So thanks.
He looked up from his video games, yeah.
I'm sure it was a simulator. Come on now.
Hopefully it was the F1 game. I installed that on a PC, got all ready this season, and I just haven't had time to even mess with it. I got a PC all built with a hand-me-down GPU from my son that's pretty decent, got it all set up and didn't get to use it.
Okay, but wait, you got a car lift. Nobody has sympathy, sir. You also got a car lift.
I'll be putting the Porsche on the car lift this afternoon,
and
baby.
A Porsche. First world problems, dude. First world problems.
All right, everybody, we are out of time. Please go to our website, speedcitybroadcast.com, because we got links to our YouTube account. All these shows go up on our YouTube. They go up as podcasts. They go up on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. Thanks, Bob Varsha. Thanks, Les Kaiser. Thanks to all the callers, our guest, Jack Crawford, and we'll talk to you next Sunday.
Ciao, y'all.
Cheers.